You can have a great information in your speech, but if your speech is lacking physical and vocal expressiveness, most likely your message will not reach your listeners. There are about 5% of students to whom being physically and vocally expressive comes very natural. And if you're in 95% that are not born with these skills, don't worry. It's a skill, and as any skill, it could be learned. In this video, I'll walk you through step-by-step process to get you on your way to be more comfortable with your vocal and physical delivery. Let's share infographics that will help us to get there. There are two major delivery styles. We talk about narrating and reading. When you narrate, you know your information because you let information go through you. And when you speak, you do not use the exact same sentences from the textbooks and the articles where you found this information. You paraphrase it. You make it your own. And as a result, your audience is engaged and grateful because they see you care. You keep a better eye contact. Your delivery is natural, simple, dynamic, more extemporaneous. You make it very easy for people to follow and to understand you. When you read, you can say, I practiced my speech 10 times. But all you practice is reading over and over again the syntactically, structurally complex sentences that are taken exactly as they are from textbooks and articles and web pages. And if this is how you practice, then your delivery sounds robotic, monotonous, because those sentences in the textbooks, in the articles, on the web pages, they're meant to be read. They're not meant to be heard. And that's the difference between oral and written discourse. What you say is meant to be heard. And what you write is meant to be read. I'll say it again. What you say is meant to be heard. And what you write is meant to be read. All features of vocal delivery, such as pace, inflection, your pitch, volume, and pauses, all those will be present or absent depending on your delivery style. If you narrate, you keep mid-range pace. You pause to collect your thoughts. You pause before you say something important. You pause after you say something important. Maybe you transition between first main point to the second main point. You pause in between. And you're not afraid of pause, and you don't think it's awkward. They come naturally to you, and they make your speech sound conversational. And you fluctuate your intonation. Either it's beginning of the speech or it's at the end of the speech. You make it very clear. And your questions sound like questions, and your declarative sentences sound like declarative sentences. You play with your volume, and you raise your volume if there is an information that needs to be highlighted, maybe numbers. For example, 90% of patients who walk into doctor's office suffer from stress and anxiety. Okay, you can say this sentence without volume and without any vocal expressiveness. That would sound something like 90% of people who walk into doctor's office suffer from anxiety and stress. Okay, or you can use your volume and your vocal expressiveness to emphasize the huge amount of people, 90%. You can say 90% of patients walking through doctors' offices suffer from anxiety and stress. Does that make a difference? Or you can say, does that make a difference? Okay. When you read, your questions sound like declarative sentences. You blend beginning and end of the speech, and you frankly forget that there is a volume and you can use it. So you don't play with your volume to highlight information. Also, when you read, you don't feel too good about yourself. You know you could do better. So you want this presentation to be over. As a result, you rush through your syntactically complex sentences taken as they are from the textbooks, and most likely you stumble. And as you stumble, you become nervous. And as you become nervous, what happens? You're trying to get through the rest of the speech even faster. And then you wonder why you didn't have a good experience during the presentation. And I'm not even talking about your audience whom you lost 30 seconds into your presentation. So that was vocal delivery. Remember, narrate, do not read. Physical delivery. Here we talk about different elements, and most important are solid stance. When we're talking about solid stance, we're not swaying, we don't shift weight from side to side, we do not cross legs. Occasional movement is okay if it feels right, just don't pace the room back and forth. Hand gestures. Try not to fidget and try to be mindful about what you do with your note cards. Maybe keep your note cards in one hand and then place them in the other hand, okay? And most importantly, try to use your hand gestures to support your message. For example, you can say, in your brown bag speech, we first talk about your past, second about present, and third about your future. Another example, I had that much work and this little time to accomplish all that work, okay? Another example, last year he was making $50,000. This year he's making $150,000, okay? Another gesture that I like is called stipple, and it communicates wisdom and it communicates confidence. I like the message that it communicates, so I'm trying to incorporate it more often when I speak. Play with that. Maybe that's something that could fit well your delivery style. Another one, don't have any physical objects between you and your listeners. Nonverbal communication suggests that it's your best practice to keep your front body open, because on subconscious level, information flows easily and uninterrupted. So no chairs, no podiums, no computers, and do not lean on anything. You want to appear confident, and leaning on something, leaning on objects, on chairs, on tables, on podiums, make you appear less trustworthy, if at all. And one of the last ones is body moves and facial expression. Try to appear as natural as you can to keep your delivery conversational. If you feel you need to raise eyebrows as you deliver to show surprise or curiosity, do that. Sometimes you need to lean forward to almost like confide in your listeners, to whisper a secret. Smile when it's appropriate. Please do know if your hands are shaking, points are not deducted for that. We covered elements of physical and vocal delivery. Remember, do not read your speech, narrate it, practice it by having the same idea, the same concept, but choose different words every time you practice. And use your hand gestures, your body moves, your facial expression to support your message. Think about starting with maybe 2 or 3 places where you can incorporate your moves to enhance your message.